My name is Alex, and I'm 27 years old. People often see me as a strong, independent woman who balances her career and her personal life with grace. But if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that no amount of success or discipline compares to the power of love. And for the last 3 years, love has been the center of my life. Her name was Olivia. She was 25, younger than me by 2 years, but in those years she brought more joy, laughter, and light into my life than I ever thought possible. I still remember the first time we met. It wasn't anything dramatic or scripted, nothing out of a movie, just a quiet evening at a cafe near my office. I had gone there to clear my mind after a long day at work. Olivia was there with a book in her hands, sipping coffee absent-mindedly. I don't know what drew me to her first, maybe it was the way her hair fell across her face when she leaned over the pages, or the thoughtful expression she wore, like she was lost in a world entirely her own. She looked up for a moment, caught me staring, and smiled. That smile, it was the kind that made you feel like you'd just been let in on a beautiful secret. We struck up a conversation, casual at first, about the book she was reading, about my office nearby, about how both of us preferred quiet corners over crowded spaces. Hours passed without either of us realizing, and by the time we said goodbye that night, I knew something in me had shifted. I couldn't stop thinking about her the next day, or the day after. And when she texted me, yes, she was bold enough to ask for my number, I felt like a teenager again, nervous and giddy at the thought of what might come next. What came next was everything I didn't know I needed. Olivia and I fell into each other's lives so naturally, as if we had been waiting all along. We became each other's safe place. Nights turned into mornings because of our endless conversations, sharing secrets we hadn't told anyone else, whispering our fears and our dreams until dawn painted the sky outside. She told me about her childhood, her struggles with acceptance, the times she felt invisible in her own family. I told her about my ambitions, about the weight of expectations I carried on my shoulders, and the loneliness that sometimes came with it. With her, I felt lighter. With me, she said she felt seen. There was a kind of rhythm to us that was unspoken but undeniable. She loved painting, and I loved watching her paint. I'd sit behind her, chin resting on her shoulder, as she filled blank canvases with colors that mirrored her soul. She loved how I made lists for everything, how I always had a plan, how I carried order into the chaos of her world. We balanced each other, the dreamer and the planner, the wild heart and the steady hand. Every season of our relationship had its own beauty. Our first winter together was filled with long walks under streetlights, our hands tucked into each other's pockets for warmth. Our first spring meant road trips with the windows down, singing along to music we both barely knew the words to. Summer brought lazy afternoons on the balcony of my apartment, sipping lemonade, her head resting on my lap as I read to her. And autumn, my favorite, was spent watching her twirl in the falling leaves, laughing like a child, pulling me along until we both collapsed on the ground, breathless and alive. It wasn't just about the fun moments, though. We had our share of arguments and tears, but even those moments seemed to bring us closer. When she was upset, she didn't hide it, her emotions were raw, unfiltered, sometimes overwhelming. But I loved that about her. I loved that she trusted. We had dreams too, dreams that became our shared language. We talked about the little house we would one day buy, with a small garden and a kitchen big enough for her to paint by the window while I cooked dinner. We talked about marriage, not as an abstract hope, but as a certainty, something we both looked forward to. She wanted a simple ceremony, just close friends and family. I wanted something more elaborate, maybe on the beach, but we laughed and agreed we'd find a middle ground. The important thing was that we'd be there, side by side, promising forever. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I'd look at her and wonder how I got so lucky. How did I, in all the randomness of life, stumble upon a woman who felt like home? I never believed in fate before Olivia, but with her, I started to think maybe it was real, maybe some things are written for us long before we know it. Looking back now, those years with her were the most tender and precious of my life. They were filled with a love so deep, so consuming, that I thought nothing could break it. She wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my partner, my best friend, my future. At least, that's what I believed. It was a Friday evening when the invitation came. A family friend, Mr. Collins, was celebrating his daughter's engagement, and he had extended the invitation to me out of courtesy. I wasn't particularly excited at first. I had been exhausted from work that week, but he was someone who had always been kind to my family, and I didn't want to disappoint him. When I mentioned it to Olivia, she hesitated. "I don't think I'll make it," she said, running her fingers through her hair absent-mindedly. "I promised my friend Mia I'd help her with something tonight." I remember feeling a small sting of disappointment, though I brushed it off quickly. I didn't want to be the kind of partner who was clingy or demanding. "That's okay," I told her with a smile, even though deep inside I had wished she would come with me. Parties always felt easier with her by my side. So, I went alone. I dressed in a simple black dress, did my hair with minimal effort, and drove to the venue. The moment I entered, I was greeted with warmth, music filled the air, the scent of food drifted from the buffet tables, and the soft glow of chandeliers gave everything a golden touch. I mingled with old acquaintances, laughed politely at jokes, and even danced with a few cousins on the floor. For the first time in a while, I felt light, almost carefree. But then, in the middle of that laughter, the ground beneath me seemed to disappear. I saw her. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me. Across the dance floor, in the dim but colorful lights, I caught sight of Olivia. Her familiar silhouette, the way she tilted her head when she laughed, it couldn't be mistaken. My chest tightened. I blinked, hoping it was someone else. But no, it was her. Olivia. And she wasn't alone. She was with Emma. Emma. My boss. The woman I saw every day at work, the one whose approval I strived for, whose presence carried both authority and grace. She was older, 35, and had a reputation for being confident, charismatic, even a little intimidating. I had always respected her, even admired her from a distance. But in that moment, all of that twisted into something darker, sharper, as I realized what I was looking at. They weren't just standing together. They were on the dance floor, bodies close, moving with a rhythm that felt too intimate, too familiar. Olivia's hand rested on Emma's shoulder, her eyes glowing with the kind of laughter and warmth she used to save for me. Emma leaned close, whispering something into her ear, and Olivia tilted her head back, smiling, as if she belonged there, in Emma's world, in Emma's arms. My heart stopped. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't move. It felt like time itself had frozen, trapping me in that single devastating image. Every sound around me faded, the music, the chatter, the laughter, all drowned out by the thunder of my heartbeat in my ears. Olivia, with Emma. I wanted to scream, to walk up to them, to demand an explanation. But my feet felt rooted to the floor. My hands trembled at my sides, cold despite the warmth of the room. I couldn't comprehend it. Just hours ago, she had told me she had other plans. And now, here she was, lost in a world with someone else, someone who wasn't just anyone, but my boss. I studied Olivia's body language, trying to make sense of it, hoping I was wrong. But everything screamed otherwise. The way her fingers lingered on Emma's arm. The way she leaned into her touch. The softness in her smile. It wasn't casual. It wasn't innocent. It was the kind of closeness that was ours once, the closeness of two people entwined not just in the moment, but in something deeper. I could feel tears threatening to rise, but I forced them back, unwilling to break in front of strangers. My throat burned, my chest ached. Every memory of Olivia and me, Every secret we had shared, every dream we had painted, flashed before me, colliding violently with the reality I was watching unfold just a few feet away. And then Emma's eyes met mine. For the briefest moment, her confident expression faltered. She froze, her hand still resting on Olivia's waist. I saw recognition flicker across her face, followed by something else, guilt. Regret? No, it was something colder. A realization that she had been caught, but also a silent warning, a plea to keep this moment unspoken. She leaned in quickly, whispering something to Olivia. Olivia turned, her eyes wide, and when she saw me, she froze too. Her lips parted slightly, as if she couldn't believe I was there. Shock washed over her face, draining her of color. I stood still, my eyes locked on hers, unable to hide the devastation. She took a step toward me, as though instinctively drawn, but then she stopped, as if her body was torn between two worlds. She stammered something I couldn't hear over the music, but I could see her lips forming excuses already, spinning stories before I even asked the question. Emma, on the other hand, straightened her shoulders. Her composure returned, though I could still see the flicker of unease in her eyes. She looked at me as if daring me to say something, to make a scene. But I couldn't. I was paralyzed by betrayal, by heartbreak, by the cruel irony that the two people I trusted most in different parts of my life had found each other behind my back. The room felt smaller. The walls seemed to close in. I needed air. Without saying a word, I turned and walked away, each step heavy, my vision blurring as the first tear finally escaped. The laughter and music continued behind me as if nothing had happened, as if the world hadn't just collapsed beneath my feet. That night marked the beginning of the unraveling. I barely made it to the hallway outside before Olivia came rushing after me. I could hear her heels clicking against the polished floor, faster and faster, until her hand caught my wrist. Alex, wait, please. Her voice cracked, urgent, trembling. I turned slowly, my chest so tight I thought I might break apart right there. Her face was pale, her eyes wide and wet. For a moment, I almost believed the girl standing in front of me was the same Olivia I'd fallen in love with, the Olivia who used to hold me through sleepless nights, who used to promise me forever. But that image clashed with the one still burned in my mind, her body pressed close to Emma's on the dance floor, her laughter tangled with hers. It's not what it looks like, she blurted out, too fast, too desperate. I almost laughed, but the sound never made it past my throat. Not what it looks like. I whispered, my voice shaking. Because it looked exactly like you were with her, Olivia. My boss. The woman I see every single day at work. Do you know what that felt like? Her lips trembled. I didn't know you'd be here tonight. I wasn't trying to hide it from you. She broke off, running her hands through her hair, unable to meet my eyes. She invited me. I thought it would be harmless. Just a dance, just some fun. I didn't think. You didn't think I'd find out, I finished for her, my heart splintering with every word. She shook her head violently. No, that's not it. Alex, please, you have to believe me. She's been kind to me. She's someone I can talk to, someone who understands things in a way. She cut herself off again, realizing how wrong it sounded. But it's not like that. You're the one I love. You're the one I want. This didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything. Those words echoed inside me, sharp and cruel. Because it had looked like it meant something. The way her hand lingered on Emma's arm, the way her body leaned into her, the way her eyes sparkled when she smiled at her, it was everything I used to hold close to my chest, and now I had watched her give it to someone else. I wanted to scream, to accuse, to demand answers she probably couldn't give. But instead, I just stood there, my silence louder than anything I could have said. My mind replayed every moment of the past 3 years, every promise, every whispered, "I love you," every plan we made for the future. And with each memory, the crack in my chest widened. Olivia reached for my hand, but I pulled away before her fingers could touch me. That small gesture broke something in her. I saw it in the way her shoulders slumped, in the way her tears spilled freely now. "Don't shut me out," she begged. "Don't throw away what we have because of this mistake." My mistake. That's what she called it. Before I could answer, another voice cut in. Low, calm, and painfully familiar. "Olivia." Emma had followed her out. She stood a few steps behind, poised as always, her expression unreadable. She wasn't flustered, not like Olivia. She wasn't scrambling for excuses. Instead, she placed a hand gently on Olivia's shoulder, as if claiming her, as if drawing her closer under her protection. "This isn't the place for this conversation," Emma said, her eyes flicking briefly to me, sharp and steady. "Let's not make a scene." I felt my stomach turn. Her hand lingered on Olivia's shoulder, casual yet deliberate, a silent reminder of where Olivia had just been. And Olivia didn't pull away. The sight of it was unbearable. In that single moment, I didn't just feel betrayed by Olivia, I felt erased. As if I was standing on the outside of my own relationship, watching it slip into someone else's hands while they stood united against me. "I'm not the one making a scene," I managed, my voice low but heavy with pain. "I was just here. You were the ones who," my throat tightened before I could finish. Emma tilted her head slightly, her tone still calm, almost condescending. "Alex, you're upset. I understand. But this isn't as dramatic as you're making it out to be. Olivia and I were just enjoying the party. That's all." Enjoying the party. That's what she called it. I looked at Olivia, waiting for her to deny it, to shake off Emma's hand, to step toward me and prove that I was still hers. But she didn't. She stayed where she was, her body turned slightly toward Emma, as if Emma's presence anchored her. And in that hesitation, I saw more truth than any excuse she could ever give. "I still love you," Olivia whispered, her voice barely audible. "I love you more than anything. Please don't doubt that." I believed her. God help me, I believed her. My heart still ached for her, still longed to hold her, still wanted to believe that this was just a nightmare I could wake up from. But belief didn't erase the image of her in Emma's arms, didn't erase the sting of her lies, didn't erase the way Emma stood beside her now like she had every right to. So I did the only thing I could do. I turned away. "I can't do this right now," I said, my voice breaking. I can't." And I walked out of that party, out into the night air that felt colder than it should have. Olivia called after me, her voice desperate, but I didn't stop. Because if I did, if I let her catch me, if I let her hold me, I knew I wouldn't be able to walk away at all. And for the first time in our 3 years together, I realized love alone wasn't enough. Not when trust had been broken. The next morning felt like waking into someone else's life. My body was exhausted, but my mind refused to rest. I hadn't slept more than a few scattered minutes, lying awake with the image of Olivia and Emma replaying in endless loops. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Olivia's smile, the one I thought belonged only to me, reflected in Emma's gaze. Every time I tried to breathe, it felt like the air itself betrayed me. Still, I forced myself out of bed. Work didn't wait for heartbreak. And if there was one thing I had always prided myself on, it was my professionalism. I told myself I could handle it. That I could walk into the office, hold my head high, and separate the woman I loved from the woman who signed my paychecks. I was wrong. The moment I stepped into the building, my stomach knotted. Every hallway, every glass wall, every hum of conversation felt louder than usual. I told myself it was just nerves, that no one knew what had happened. But deep inside, I couldn't shake the paranoia that they might see it on my face, that they might know. When I finally reached my desk, I saw Emma through the glass of her office. She was already there, dressed immaculately as always, her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. She looked up briefly, caught my eye, and gave me the smallest of nods before returning to her work, as if last night had never happened. That nod cut deeper than any insult, because how could she look so calm, so composed, when my entire world had collapsed? By mid-morning, I was summoned to her office for a project update. My legs felt like lead as I walked in. She sat behind her desk, shuffling through papers, her voice even, clipped, businesslike. "Alex, I reviewed the latest draft of the proposal," she began, not even looking up at me. "The structure is solid, but we need to refine the financial projections. Can you have that done by Friday?" I stood frozen, staring at her. How could she sit there and talk about financial projections, when less than 12 hours ago, she had been holding my girlfriend on the dance floor? Did she really think she could erase that moment with spreadsheets and deadlines? "Do you need me to repeat myself?" she asked when I didn't answer immediately. I forced my voice steady. "No. I'll take care of it." "Good." She finally looked up, her eyes sharp, deliberate, as if daring me to bring up what happened. But she gave me nothing. No explanation, no apology, not even a hint of recognition that the woman she had held in her arms was the same woman who filled my life with dreams. Just silence. I walked out of her office with my hands trembling. Over the next few days, the silence turned into something worse. Emma began dropping comments to co-workers, subtle but poisonous. I overheard her laughing with a colleague in the break room, her words sliding like knives. "Oh, Olivia? She's just a friend of mine. We go way back. Alex happened to see us together, but you know how sensitive she is sometimes." Sensitive? That's what she called me. Another time, I caught her telling someone that she was simply helping Olivia with some career guidance. "I'm mentoring her," she said smoothly, her tone dripping with authority. "It's nothing more than that. People love to read too much into things. And the worst part? People believed her. Of course they did. She was Emma, the boss, the leader, the one everyone admired. I was just Alex, the hard-working employee, the young woman who suddenly seemed distracted and distant." Whispers followed me in the hallways. Curious glances lingered longer than before. I didn't know what they had been told or what they suspected, but I could feel the judgment pressing in on me. Every smile felt forced, every conversation shallow, and slowly, I began to shrink inside myself. At night, sleep became impossible. I'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind restless, my body heavy with fatigue. The few times I drifted off, dreams turned into nightmares, Olivia's laughter tangled with Emma's voice, their hands reaching for each other while I stood invisible in the background. I'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, my chest aching as though my heart was physically breaking apart. Work, once my refuge, became unbearable. I'd stare at my computer screen for hours, unable to focus, words blurring until they made no sense. I made mistakes, small ones at first, then bigger. Deadlines slipped. Reports came back with corrections. And Emma noticed. She never scolded me outright, but the disappointment in her tone during meetings was sharp enough to cut. One evening, after another long day of avoiding her eyes, I stayed late at my desk, long after everyone else had gone home. The office was silent, the hum of the lights the only sound. My hands hovered over the keyboard, but my mind was elsewhere. I thought about Olivia, about the way she had cried and begged me not to doubt her love. I thought about Emma, the calm in her eyes, the authority in her lies. And then I thought about myself, sitting here alone, caught between the two, losing pieces of who I was in the process. For the first time, I questioned everything. Not just Olivia, not just Emma, but myself. Had I been blind? Had I ignored the signs, the moments when Olivia seemed distant, when she lingered a little too long on her phone, when she cancelled plans at the last minute? Had I been so wrapped up in the idea of forever that I didn't see it unraveling in front of me? And what about my career? Was it worth staying in a place where the very air felt poisoned, where the woman in charge held both my paycheck and my heartbreak in her hands? Could I keep walking into this office every day, pretending to be unaffected, while the whispers ate away at me? By the time I shut down my computer that night, my eyes burned with unshed tears. I realized I was living in two prisons, one built by Olivia's betrayal, the other by Emma's power. And the weight of both was slowly suffocating me. As I walked out into the cold night air, I promised myself something. I didn't know how, and I didn't know when, but I couldn't go on like this. Something had to change. Either I would lose myself completely, or I would find a way to break free. A few nights later, there was a knock on my door. I knew before I opened it who it was. Something in me recognized the rhythm of her presence, the way my heart jumped even when my mind screamed against it. I pulled the door open, and there she was, Olivia. Her face was streaked with tears, her hair unkempt, her eyes swollen from crying. She looked so small, so fragile, that for a split second I wanted to gather her into my arms and tell her everything would be okay. But then I remembered Emma's hand on her waist, her laughter spilling into Emma's ear, and I gripped the doorframe instead, steadying myself. "Alex," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, can I come in?" I hesitated, every nerve in my body torn between pushing her away and pulling her close. Finally, I stepped aside. She slipped past me, her shoulders trembling as she walked into the living room. She stood there for a moment, twisting her hands, unable to meet my gaze. Then, suddenly, the words burst out of her. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I messed up, Alex. I didn't mean to hurt you." I crossed my arms, my voice sharper than I intended. "Then why did you? Why did you lie to me and go to her? Why Emma, of all people?" Her face crumpled. "I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I was confused." She sank onto the couch, her body folding in on itself. "Emma, she's different. She makes me feel stable, I guess. She's older, she carries herself with such confidence. I felt like I could lean on her in a way I couldn't with anyone else. She made me feel special, like I wasn't just this silly girl who paints and dreams too much. She treated me like I was someone important." The words stung. Every syllable felt like a betrayal layered over the last. "And what about me?" I asked softly, though my voice trembled. "Didn't I make you feel special? Didn't I show you every single day how much you meant to me?" Her tears fell harder. "You did. God, you did, Alex. You gave me everything. You were my home, my safe place, my heart. But she broke off, choking on her own sobs. "I got lost. I let myself get swept up in the attention, in the idea of something different. I thought maybe Emma could give me something I didn't even know I was missing. But it was wrong. It was a mistake. You're the one I love. You're the one I can't live without." I closed my eyes, her words slicing me open. My mind screamed at me to push her away, to tell her she couldn't just come back after shattering me. But my heart remembered. It remembered the first time we met, the way her smile had lit up that cafe. It remembered late nights when she curled against me, whispering her dreams into the dark. It remembered the way she painted, her hands messy with color, her laughter filling the room. It remembered autumn afternoons, road trips, secrets, promises, kisses that felt endless. And suddenly I was back in those moments, holding on to them like they could save me. Because part of me still loved her with a depth I couldn't erase, no matter how badly I wanted to. She reached for my hand, and this time I didn't pull away. Her fingers were cold, trembling, desperate. "Please forgive me," she begged. "I'll do anything. I'll cut ties with Emma, I'll prove myself to you, I'll spend the rest of my life making this right if you just give me another chance." I stared at her, my chest aching with the weight of love and betrayal colliding inside me. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to cling to the idea that this could just be a bad chapter in our story, that we could find our way back to the girl who once felt like my forever. But deep down, a quiet voice whispered the truth: some betrayals leave scars too deep to ever fully heal. "I don't know if I can," I admitted, my voice raw. "You broke something in me, Olivia. Something I don't know if we can fix. I still love you, but love doesn't erase what you did." Her sobs grew heavier, her head dropping into her hands. "Then let me try. Please, Alex, let me at least try. Don't throw us away." I sat beside her, my body torn in two, and for the first time since that night, I let myself cry with her. Two broken hearts, still reaching for each other, even when trust lay shattered between us. And in that moment, I realized love wasn't simple. It wasn't just warmth and laughter and promises. Sometimes it was pain. Sometimes it was choosing whether to hold on or let go, knowing that either choice would change you forever. It happened 2 days later. I couldn't take the silence anymore, the half-answers from Olivia, the smugness radiating from Emma at work, the way whispers spread like wildfire in the office hallways. My heart was bruised, my pride bleeding, and I needed the truth out in the open. So I asked Olivia to meet me. What I didn't tell her was that I had also asked Emma. When they both walked into the cafe that night, their surprise at seeing each other was written all over their faces. Emma arched an eyebrow, arms folding over her chest like she was ready for battle. Olivia looked like a guilty child caught sneaking out past curfew. I stayed standing. My voice shook, but I refused to let it waver into weakness. "We are not doing this anymore, the half-truths, the excuses, the whispers. Tonight, everything comes out. No more lies." Emma gave a dry laugh. "Finally. I was wondering when you'd grow a spine." Olivia flinched. "Emma, stop." I snapped my gaze to her. "No, let her speak. Because clearly, she's been speaking behind my back long enough." The words hung heavy in the air, sharp and unrelenting. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "Alex, please, it's not what you think. Stop saying that." My voice cracked, the weight of it all crashing through me. "I saw you. On the dance floor. I saw the way you looked at her, the way you used to look at me. Don't stand here and tell me it wasn't real." Olivia crumbled into silence, her lips trembling with words she couldn't seem to form. Emma leaned forward, her tone calm but cutting. "She's right, Olivia. Stop sugarcoating it." Then she turned her eyes to me. They were cold, unapologetic. "You want the truth? Fine. I knew you two were together. I knew exactly what you meant to each other. And I pursued her anyway." My stomach dropped. Even though I had suspected, hearing it out loud was like a blade to the chest. Olivia gasped. "Emma?" But Emma didn't stop. I wanted her. I wanted the way she lit up a room, the way she made everyone feel like they mattered. I thought if I could have that, even just for a moment, it would be worth it. And she didn't exactly resist me, did she? Olivia covered her face, sobbing, but I couldn't look away from Emma. Her words were a confession, yes, but also a weapon. She wanted me to hurt. And God, it worked. My voice shook as I whispered, "So it wasn't just her. It was both of you. You both made the choice to betray me." Olivia reached for me, but I stepped back. No, Alex, please, you have to believe me. I was confused, I made a mistake, but I never stopped loving you. Don't, I cut her off. My chest was burning. Don't use that word like it still means something. Love doesn't look like sneaking around. Love doesn't look like dancing in someone else's arms while lying to mine. Her tears streamed freely, but I couldn't let myself be pulled in again. Not this time. Emma leaned back in her chair, smirking faintly, as if proud of her damage. At least now you know the truth. Maybe it's better this way. She was never fully yours to begin with. Those words solidified something inside me. A breaking point. A line I could never uncross. I stood, my hands trembling but my voice steady. No. She was mine. Until you both decided I wasn't enough. And that's on you, not me. I gave everything I had, and you both tore it apart. Olivia collapsed into quiet sobs, whispering my name like it was a lifeline. Emma just sat there, unbothered, almost victorious, and me? I walked out. Because for the first time since all of this began, I realized something. Sometimes love doesn't end in fire and rage, it ends in silence. In the moment you finally accept the people you trusted most are the ones who broke you. I didn't sleep that night. Or the next. My mind was a battlefield, my heart bruised, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw Olivia's tears, and Emma's smirk. For days, I went to work like a ghost, dragging myself through the motions. Emma moved around the office with her usual air of control, pretending nothing had happened, as if our confrontation had been a dream. Co-workers whispered, some gave me sympathetic glances, but most avoided me altogether. Emma had poisoned the air with her stories, and I was too exhausted to fight back. One morning, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror, sunken eyes, pale skin, a woman who had given everything to people who gave nothing back. That was the moment it clicked. I couldn't keep doing this. Not for Emma's company, not for Olivia's half-hearted apologies, not for the version of myself that believed love was worth any cost. That afternoon, I typed up my resignation letter. My hands trembled as I hit print, but when I slid it across Emma's desk, a strange calm washed over me. Emma raised an eyebrow. Running away? I met her gaze steady. No. Walking away. There's a difference. She smirked, but I didn't give her the satisfaction of staying in the room. For the first time in weeks, I felt free, even if freedom came with the terror of not knowing how I'd pay rent next month. Later that evening, Olivia came to see me. She looked shattered, her eyes swollen from crying, her voice fragile. Alex, please. Don't shut me out. I made a mistake, but I can fix this. I love you. I shook my head. Olivia, love without loyalty is just a word. You don't get to dance with someone else while I'm standing in the same room and then call it love. Her lips quivered. I was lost, No, I cut in. My voice surprised me with its steadiness. You weren't lost. You made a choice. And so did I. I choose myself this time. Saying those words hurt like hell, but they also set me free. I closed the door on her that night, knowing I wasn't just closing it on Olivia, I was closing it on the version of myself who accepted less than she deserved. The months that followed were hard. Money was tight, and there were days when loneliness pressed heavy on my chest. But piece by piece, I rebuilt myself. I took freelance projects, met new people outside Emma's suffocating circle, and slowly began to feel like Alex again, not the girl defined by heartbreak, but a woman shaping her own future. Then, one evening, almost 6 months later, I got a message. From Olivia. I need to see you. Please. Curiosity tugged at me, though every instinct told me to ignore it. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a cafe. When I walked in, Olivia looked smaller somehow, fragile in a way I'd never seen. She played with her coffee cup, eyes darting up when she saw me. "She left me," Olivia whispered. I frowned. "Emma?" She nodded, her lips trembling. "She was never serious about me. She just wanted to win. To take me from you. And when she did, she got bored." Her voice cracked, and for a moment, the old ache flared in my chest. This was the girl I had loved so deeply, the one I once believed would stand beside me forever. "Alex," she said, reaching across the table, "I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. Please, can we try again?" For a moment, the room felt unbearably quiet. My heart remembered every smile, every night we had spent tangled in laughter and love. But my soul remembered something else, the humiliation, the betrayal, the way I had stood frozen in that party, watching her give someone else what was supposed to be mine. I gently pulled my hand away. "No, Olivia. I can't." Tears filled her eyes. "But I love you." I stood, my voice soft but unyielding. "Love without respect, without loyalty, is nothing. I gave you my heart, and you broke it. And I survived that. Which means I don't need you to survive anymore." Her sobs followed me as I walked out, but for the first time, they didn't break me. They healed me. Because in that moment, I realized the real twist wasn't that Olivia had left Emma. It was that I had left the version of myself who would have taken her back. I walked into the night with my head high, the city lights blurring like stars. My life was far from perfect, but it was mine again. And this time, I chose myself, my dignity, my strength, my new beginning. And I promised myself I would never, ever forget. Love may come and go, but self-respect is the only thing worth holding onto forever.